So Isaac Newton put forth laws that explain why objects move or do not move. And these laws are known to us as Newton's laws of motion. So from now we will be studying Newton's first, second and third law of motion. So let's begin with Newton's first law of motion. According to Isaac Newton, an object at rest remains at rest unless we apply an external unbalanced force on it. Similarly, an object in motion continues to move with the same speed and in the same direction unless we apply an external unbalanced force on it. Let's try to understand the meaning of this law. A ball is in a state of rest. Can it move on its own? It can only move when we kick it or when we give it a gentle push. That is, an external unbalanced force has to be applied on the ball so that the ball will move. So what can we conclude here? An object at rest will remain at rest unless an external unbalanced force is applied on it. Similarly, a car is at rest. Can it move on its own? Definitely not. It's only when the engine of the car is started, then the engine provides the force to the car to move, isn't it? So here the car is in a state of rest and it will continue to remain at rest till a force is applied on the car. And in what form? By starting the engine of the car. So once again we can say that an object at rest will continue to remain at rest until an external unbalanced force is applied on it. Now these are three surfaces. We have a ground which is covered with grass. The second surface is a table tennis table and the third surface is a frictionless surface. So let's study these examples. Okay, in the first case or the first image we have ground which is covered with grass. Now if a ball is set rolling on the grass, the ball will cover a certain distance and then it will definitely stop. Why? The force of friction will act on the ball, isn't it? And the force of friction which will be exerted by the rough surface here will be more. The grass is a rough surface, so more the rougher the surface, more friction will it exert on the other object and therefore the object will come to a stop because the frictional force will act in the opposite direction and it will try to stop the object from moving ahead. So as the ball is moving ahead, the force of friction will try to stop the ball and therefore the ball will cover a certain distance and will stop. Now let's consider the second surface. As I said, the second surface is a table tennis table. So if a ball is set rolling on this table tennis table, once again the ball will cover some distance, but the force of friction is definitely going to be exerted by the table on the ball and therefore the ball will stop. But if you compare the distance which is covered by the ball on the first and the second surface, that is the grassy surface and the tabletop surface, you will find that the ball covers more distance on the second surface than on the first surface. Why? Because the second surface is more smooth than the first surface and the second surface offers lesser friction as compared to the first surface. So here, which force acts on the ball that makes it to stop? You are correct. It's the force of friction or the frictional force. Now let's consider the third surface. The third surface is a magical surface. It is a frictionless surface. It is very, very smooth. That means here the friction in this case is going to be zero. So if a ball is set rolling on this frictionless surface, the ball will move and move and move without stopping. Why? Because there is no friction acting on the surface of the ball. So it's only when a stopping force is applied on the ball will come to a state of rest. So what can we infer from the third example? That if an object is in the state of uniform motion, then it will continue to move with uniform motion until when? Until we apply an external unbalanced force on it. So Newton's first law can be discussed in two parts: definition of inertia and definition of force. So now let's study what is meant by inertia. Now Newton's first law gives us the definition of inertia. What is inertia? According to Newton, an object cannot change its state of rest or state of motion by itself. Can an object stop by itself? Can an object move by itself? It's not possible. So if an object is at rest, I'm using the same statement again and again. If an object is at rest, it will continue to remain at rest. And if the object is moving with some speed, it will move with the same speed and in the same direction till we apply an external unbalanced force on it. For example, if a book is kept on a table, it will continue to remain at its place unless the book is displaced. Or if a ball is rolling on a horizontal surface, it will keep rolling on the ground unless the force of friction will act between the ball and the surface. So what is this inertia? Inertia is the tendency of any object to resist its state of rest or the state of motion. That is, inertia will make the moving object continue to move at constant speed in the same direction unless we apply an external unbalanced force on it, or inertia will make an object to stay at rest unless we apply an external unbalanced force on it. Now inertia is not a physical quantity, so we cannot measure inertia. Therefore inertia does not have any unit. So what is inertia? Inertia is the tendency of a body whereby an object resists from going in a state of rest or in a state of motion. It is an inherent property of the body. So we can define inertia as the tendency of a body to resist change in state of rest or state of motion is called as inertia. Now inertia is of three types or three kinds: inertia at rest, inertia of motion and inertia of direction. Still not convinced? So we'll take some examples in order to understand inertia. We'll begin with the first kind of inertia, inertia at rest. What do you see here in the picture? That a bus starts suddenly. Okay, and when the bus starts suddenly, we find that the passengers who are seated in the bus get a backward jerk or a backward push because the passengers are at inertia of rest. What does it mean? Now when the bus is in a state of rest, the passenger's upper part of the body and the lower part of the body will be in a state of rest. But when the bus starts, the lower part of the passenger's body, which is in contact with the bus, will start moving with the same speed as that of the bus. But the upper part of the passenger's body is still in a state of rest. So, due to inertia of rest, the lower part of the passenger's body will move ahead, but the upper part of the passenger's body will continue to remain at rest because the body is at inertia of rest, and therefore the passenger gets a backward jerk or a backward push. When a card is kept over the mouth of a tumbler and a coin is placed at the center of the card, and if the card is flicked in the horizontal direction, we find that the card flies away, but the coin which is kept over the card falls directly into the tumbler. Why is it so? When the card is flicked, a force acts on the card directly, therefore the card moves, but the coin is in a state of rest, therefore the coin will continue to remain in a state of rest and will not go into a state of motion at once. So the coin will remain at its place due to inertia of rest, and therefore it will fall down into the tumbler because of the pull of gravity. A huge boulder is in a state of rest. So if force is applied to the boulder, it will resist from going in a state of motion. Why? Because the boulder is in a state of rest. When coins are piled up while playing carom and the lowermost coin is struck with the help of striker, we find that only this coin moves, but the rest of the coins remain intact. The reason is that when the striker hits the lowest coin will move it will go from a state of rest into a state of motion. But what about the remaining pile of coins? The remaining pile, because of inertia at rest, will remain as they are. That is, they will remain intact and they take the place of the original pile. So here what do we see? That the object is resisting from going into a state of motion. It is in a state of rest, but it is resisting from going into a state of motion. So this tendency of a body to maintain its state of rest is called as inertia. So we can define inertia at rest as the inherent property of a body by virtue of which it cannot change its position of rest. If we take more examples of inertia at rest in day-to-day life, when we dust a carpet, by lifting it up, the carpet will be set in motion, but the dust remains in a state of rest and the carpet gets cleaned. Similarly, when a fruit falls down from the tree, when the branch is shaken, it is seen that the branch is set in motion, but the fruit continues to remain in a state of rest and therefore it falls down in the direction of gravity. The second kind of inertia is inertia of motion. In inertia of motion, the object which is in a state of motion resists from going in a state of rest. For example, a bus is moving with a certain speed, and when brakes are applied to the moving bus, we see that the passengers get a jerk in the forward direction. That is, the passengers fall in the forward direction. Now when the bus is already moving, the upper part of the passenger's body is moving with the same speed as that of the bus. So when brakes are applied, the bus will immediately come to a halt, but the upper part of the passenger's body has inertia of motion, so it will continue to be in a state of motion. It will resist from suddenly going into a state of rest, and therefore because of inertia of motion, the passenger gets a jerk in the forward direction. In this example, a biker was moving with a certain speed on the bike and he suddenly came across tires which were piled up one above the other. So when he hit the pile of tires, what has happened to him? You see, he has been thrown in the outward direction. His body did not come to a state of rest. In fact, he has been thrown outward. So why does this happen? Now when the biker was on the bike, his body, upper part of the body was moving with the same speed as that of the speed of the bike, and suddenly when he hit the tires, what has happened is the bike has come to a halt, but the body of the passenger will not immediately come to a halt. Why? Because his body was showing inertia of motion. So the body will continue to show inertia of motion. That is, it will continue to move. It will not stop immediately when a stopping force is applied on the bike. So therefore the passenger is getting thrown in the outward direction. Here you can see two players colliding with each other, isn't it? So these two players, the body of the two players was in a state of motion and they collided with each other. So what will happen in this case? Both of them have inertia of motion. So when they collide with each other, will their body suddenly go in a state of rest? That's not possible. Their body initially had inertia of motion. So when they collide with each other, the body will continue to have this inertia of motion and therefore both of them will be thrown away on the ground. Here you can see a road roller is rolling on the ground. That means it has got inertia of motion since it is moving. So if someone tries to stop it, it will resist from going into a state of rest. Why? Because it is in a state of motion. So since it is in a state of motion, or it has got inertia of motion, the road roller will continue to maintain its inertia of motion for some time rather than going into a state of rest. When a fan is switched off, what do we see? Do the blades immediately come to a state of rest? No. When the fan was moving, it had inertia of motion. So when the fan was switched off, it will still continue to maintain its inertia of motion rather than directly going into a state of rest. So all these are examples of inertia of motion. So what is meant by inertia of motion? The inherent property of a body by virtue of which it cannot change its state of motion is called as inertia of motion. The third kind of inertia is inertia of direction. According to this type of inertia, an object cannot change its direction of motion when an external force is applied on it. So, inertia of direction can be defined as the tendency, the inherent property of a body by virtue of which it cannot change its direction of motion is called as inertia of direction. For example, when knife is sharpened on a grinding stone, we find that the sparks of the knife fly off tangentially. Similarly, when a car gets stuck up in a mud and the driver starts the engine, and when the wheel rotates in the circular direction, we do not see the mud rotating or thrown off in the circular direction. In fact, the mud is thrown off in a tangential direction. So we have already studied that an object at rest will continue to remain at rest and an object in motion will continue to remain in a state of motion unless an external unbalanced force acts on it. So based upon this explanation, let us see the statement for Newton's first law of motion. Newton's first law of motion is called as law of inertia, and the statement of the law is every body continues to be in a state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line unless it is acted upon by an external unbalanced force. Dear children, we have already studied that inertia is an inherent property of each body by virtue of which it has a tendency to resist the change in state of rest or state of motion. Now the property of inertia is because of the mass of the body. So greater the mass of the body, the greater is the inertia, and lesser the mass of the body, the lesser will be the inertia of the body. Thus, a lighter body has less inertia than a heavier body. So in other words, we can say that more the mass of the body, more difficult it will be to move a body from rest or to stop the body if it is initially in motion. So here we can say that mass is the measure of inertia. Now, as we said that mass is the measure of inertia. So lesser the mass, lesser will be the inertia, and more the mass, more will be the inertia. So if we have a small stone and a big boulder which are in a state of rest, the mass of the stone being very less, it will have lesser inertia. So if we have to set the stone in a state of motion, we can apply a small force on the stone and it will be displaced or it will be set in a state of motion. But if you consider the big boulder has more mass, so it will have more inertia, and since it has got more inertia, so if it is in an inertia of rest, by applying force, if we try to put it into inertia of motion, it will be very difficult. So more force has to be applied if a heavier object or an object with more mass has to be set in motion. So once again, lesser the mass, lesser is the inertia. For example, if we have a cycle and a huge truck, and if we have to move the cycle has got lesser mass, so it has got lesser inertia. So we can set it into motion by applying a smaller amount of force. So it will not resist from going into a state of motion because the force that you are applying is sufficient enough to move it. But if you consider a truck and you are trying to push the truck with your hand, will it go into a state of motion? No, it is in a state of inertia at rest. So it will oppose from going into inertia of motion. Why? Because it is very massive, it is very bulky, it has got a huge mass. Therefore, its inertia is also more. So more the mass, more is the inertia. Here we can see two trolleys. One is an empty trolley and the other trolley is loaded with goods. So that means the empty trolley has got less mass and therefore less inertia, whereas the loaded trolley has got more mass and therefore more inertia. So we find that it will be very difficult to move a loaded trolley. More force has to be applied on the loaded trolley to set it into motion as compared to unloaded trolley which has got less mass. Similarly, if both the trolleys are in a state of motion, it will be difficult to stop the loaded trolley than the unloaded trolley if both of them are moving initially with the same velocity. So once again, lesser the mass, lesser is the inertia, more the mass, more is the inertia.